story time about when I ran away at 17 years old to go and live with a gypsy boy. First off, before I start, I just want to make it very clear that I don't hate travellers. I've got a lot of messages saying that I'm a racist and I'm whatever. I don't hate travellers, I just hate my ex-boyfriend. Anyway, so I'll start it off with how we first met. So basically, in the town that we used to live in, he just saw me, like I was just doing my shopping and we didn't know each other, and he saw me and he came up to me and he was like, I think you're fit, you're going to meet me at this place at 8 on Wednesday for dinner. And I was like, this guy's got balls, I like that. I was like, okay, give me your number and I'll be there. The day went really well and we went on quite a few dates and all went really well. He brought me gifts, he was really kind to me, and yeah, he treated me better than anyone had treated me before. So after a couple of months, he was like to me, would you like to move in with me and live with my family on our plot, whatever. He was like, you don't need to work, you can just live your best life and do college. And I was like, yeah, perfect. So I got my driver's license and I moved into his, and that's when it started going really fucking downhill. So one morning I caught him taking these tablets, and I was like to him, oh, like, what do you take your tablets for? He was like, oh, they're my psychosis medicine. And I was like, sorry? He was like, my psychosis medicine. He was like, I'm a diagnosed psycho. Didn't I tell you? I'm like, no, you didn't. So I went into his mum's trailer and I was like, hey girl, no one decided to tell me that he's just like diagnosed psycho. And she was like, yeah, well, she was like, he'll be fine, like he hasn't had outbursts in ages, just keep him happy and he'll be fine. And me at 17 was like, keep him happy, easy peasy. So a few weeks went by and he was fine, like everything was normal, and then he started getting really agitated, like randomly agitated, and just like being a bit aggressive, like kicking off at everything. And I was like, well, what the fuck is going on? Turns out this guy also has a addiction as well. So it's not even just the fact that he's diagnosed psycho, he's also a drug addict. So we spoke about it and he was like, I'm really sorry, I'm gonna stop, I love you. Me being 17 was like, yeah, it's fine, love you too, we're gonna get through it, whatever. And we'd booked a holiday to Turkey, so I wasn't gonna miss out. We are on our way to Turkey. It's our first day in Turkey and we arrive, and the second we get there he's like, oh, I've got to go and do something. And I was like, okay, cool, go do whatever. I thought it might have been a nice little surprise for me. Turns out he'd spent all of our holiday money in the first 30 seconds on when we got there. We had £20 to live off in Turkey for a whole day until the next day, when I rang my mum and asked her to send me money, and basically just said that we got really drunk on the first night and spent it all, instead of telling her the real reason. So we were arguing literally the whole entire holiday, but apart from that, the holiday was fine, like the place was beautiful, and we just kind of like tried to get along for the sake of it. And I was like, fuck it, I'll end it when we're at home. So we got home, I told his mum what had happened, and we spoke to him about it, and he said that he was going to get some serious help. Can I give him one more chance? And obviously, because I had nowhere to live and no money, I was like, sure. One thing I do want to say is that he did provide for me and he did look after me in that sense. So I was grateful for that at the time, and I kind of let him get away with a lot of bullshit because I thought, oh, he does do a lot for me in other ways, like, so what if he's sometimes not that nice to me, whatever. So then this is when it was the final straw for me. So I had a festival booked with my friends that we had booked way before I even knew this guy. So I was going to go on my own with my friends, but he insisted in coming and got a last minute ticket. I was young and quite naive at the time, and everyone was doing at the festival. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try half of one, I'm experimenting, I'm not going to be silly with it. However, my boyfriend had found that I had had one and was fuming. So he decided, I'm going to teach her a lesson and get her really fucked up on these drugs and make sure that she never does it again. So long story short, what he did is he manipulated me into saying that I needed to have way more than I had to actually even feel anything, and he basically gave me another 2 in the space of when I just had half an hour before. So I was literally fucked. I was so ill that I was literally having a seizure in this tent, and my friends were like, fuck, we should take her to the medical. And the seizure lasted like 5 minutes, which is quite a long time. And they were going to take me, and when I kind of finally gained consciousness kind of vibe, I was like, no, you're not taking me there. I was like, right, I'm here for the whole festival. Meanwhile, my boyfriend was watching whoever the fuck was playing at the festival, and when he found out, he just laughed. So yeah, my ex-boyfriend basically caused me to have an overdose, and when I kind of became conscious, I was like, right, I need to get rid of this guy the second I get home. So I got home from the festival, again, told his mum about what had happened. I sound like such a snitch to his mum, but I just didn't really have anyone else to go to or talk to about it, and it was just a lot. So yeah, told his mum, and his mum was like, right, we need to get you the fuck out of here. Like, this is getting too much. Like, he's not treating you right. Like, let's do something about this. So together, me and his mum found a date where we knew that he'd be working, like, quite far away. And we decided to set that up as the date where, like, she'd help me run away. So my friend's mum kindly let me live with her for a while. So yeah, our plan was kind of set up. His mum had given me 300 quid to help me like get started like when I left, because obviously he was financially supporting me. And yeah, we thought it was gonna work until he ended up not going to work that day. However, I still had to move that day because I had some people coming to help me with all my stuff. So yeah, I still had to move on that day, and basically what he did was, it was this whole massive drama. He was throwing stuff at me, screaming at my friend who was also helping me leave, and then he was like, you know what, I'm gonna myself. And I was like, no you're not, whatever, shut up. He then showed me, like, he walked away for like 15 minutes, and I was like, good, he's gone. He then came back and was like, well, look at this then. And he showed me his psychosis tablets, and the packet was empty. And he'd only got 1 packet left, and that was the packet from this morning, which was full at the beginning. So he had said that he'd taken all of those tablets. So obviously we were all really worried about him. So we called the ambulance came, and he got rushed off to hospital, and I finished packing up my stuff because his mum told me to do that. And then she was like, just come to the hospital afterwards. And I was like, okay. So I packed up my stuff, went to the hospital, went in. He had like, was fully strapped up and everything in this hospital bed, was crying. And when he saw I got there, he pulled me in. He was like, come here. And I was like, yes, what? Like, what do you want? And he whispered in my ear, he said, go and check under the boot of your car where the spare wheel is. And I was like, that's weird. So I went and looked and found all the hidden tablets. So he did it to manipulate me into staying.
My 24 female boyfriend, 27 male, doesn't want me to model for lingerie or swimwear. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 5 years and met when I was a freshman in college. I applied to a modeling agency 1 year into our relationship, and he has been very supportive for the most part. I don't model often, to be fair, and I have another career that I love and model on the side whenever I can because I really enjoy it. I mostly do some e-commerce/commercial stuff, but I'm really interested in editorial and creative stuff, so I like to work with photographers when I can. When I do coordinate a shoot with a photographer, he usually asks questions about my intentions by questioning if they're male, followed by a groan, and never seems to fully trust me in scenarios or thinks that they're trying to hit on me. It's not a safety issue, more of a jealousy/insecurity thing. On another note, I personally am very comfortable with my body, but was raised rather conservatively and would dress as such. Nowadays, I like to capitalize on not wearing a bra with tops that that I can get away with it. But honestly, I don't really care if my nipples are visible. And I am a pretty firm believer in women having a right to do whatever with their body and don't believe that all nudity is meant to be sexualized. My boyfriend is okay with me not wearing a bra as long as my nipples aren't too visible. He has, though, expressed his discomfort with me doing the same with my friends without him. I've tried communicating to him that it's a creative outlet and more so artistic than sexual. I wish he didn't see my body so sexually, but he blames it on, quote, how men are and, quote, knowing what they're thinking. Although it's problematic, I've always wanted to do runway for Victoria's Secret, but he shut it down, even though it's quite literally the pipe dream anyways, and became defensive afterwards. Now, just recently, he expressed his disapproval for me modeling for swimwear/swimsuits as well, which I always assumed was on the table. I was a bit surprised and told him that I was comfortable in a swimsuit, but he remained upset. I really love him and wish he could be more supportive and allow me to do what I wish with my body and want him to trust my own standards/decisions. His insecurity has caused other rifts in our relationship, but I've always been loyal and very reassuring/supportive. I wish he would trust my judgment when I model. Please give me advice on how to handle the situation.
I rejected one of my best friends I used to be in love with. I, 30, met my friend Jean, 28, 3 years ago at a rec soccer league, and I was pretty infatuated with her from the beginning. Another guy in the league, lawyer dude, LD, 30, also liked her and part of the same group of friends we got together at this league. After over a year our friendships deepened and I honestly fell more in love with her too. I was hesitant about damaging our friendship but came clean and asked her if she wanted to explore something more. She told me she loved me as a friend but not into me like that since she didn't want to get in a relationship at the time, so even though my heart was broken I moved on. Less than 2 months later she starts dating LD and became clear to me she wasn't necessarily avoiding relationships but just didn't want me. I think all my romantic feelings for her ended right that moment since I'm the type of person that wants the same excitement and feelings for a partner that I give to her. No big deal, was honestly happy for her. We were still good friends but I left the league because my professional life picked up since I was promoted to CFO for my company and I just didn't have the time for it. We still joked and texted all the time and Jean and LD even came out with me, my friends, and sister to party and have some nights out. Jean even became good friends with my sister, which I was happy to see because I'm happy to see my sister surround herself with great people. A few months ago, Jean and LD broke up, which came as a surprise to everyone because they seemed great together. I'm finding out in the past several weeks from Jean and my sister that LD was abusive and have been emotionally, psychologically, and even physically abusing. PA picked up in the last few months of their relationship, almost the entire time they were together. She even had pictures of the bruises on her body and everything. I feel terrible for her and she's been spending more time with us and I think she's well on the path to recovery. She should probably see a therapist or something to confirm that. Last weekend, we were drinking some wine in my kitchen goofing around. She's teasing me about the last few girlfriends I've showed and even doing an impression of some. We're in NYC and dating and people can just be weird here. I was pretty tipsy and my kitchen is tiny, Manhattan-apt, and I'm pretty sure she initiated a kiss. We kissed for maybe 7 to 10 seconds before I put a stop to it and try to defuse the situation joking about how strong the wine is. She agrees, laughs about it, and goes home. Early the next morning she's at my doorstep and wants to talk. She said she's in love with me and we can start what we should have started when I confessed to her years ago. I told her I love her as a friend but I don't see her romantically like that and it wouldn't be a good idea. She seemed incredibly hurt and asked if it's because I rejected her and I told her it wasn't, but I don't think she believed me. To be honest, it probably is the reason. As I mentioned earlier, unless someone is as golden lab excited about me as I'm into them, I lose interest in them romantically. I probably have issues but that's just how I am. But in no way am I trying to purposely punish her. Now even my sister is texting me and giving me a hard time because she sees it as her friend who was manipulated into a relationship when she wasn't ready for it by a narcissist and then abused. She's accusing me of being vengeful and petty with someone who's my soulmate because she got manipulated into a relationship and chose someone else over me. My sister has also dated some jerks in the past, so I think she's just seeing it from Jean's perspective, which I don't fault her for. I reached out to Jean to see if she's okay, but she said she needs time and it's possible we should never see each other again. I think this is super hypocritical since I continued to be a good friend when she rejected me. I don't know what to do here. I truly do love her platonically. Should I try to explore if there's romantic potential here? I'm about to lose a friend and also potentially ruin my close relationship with my sister. Had some people messaging me asking for an update that I've mostly ignored, but I wanted to provide an update today. I had brunch with my sister the day after the first thread went up. I actually showed her the thread and she spent half of our meal reading through it. She actually agreed it's not her place to butt in and apologized about making the situation more difficult for me. She said she's gonna be on my side and I can count on her going forward. She also actually agreed with a lot of the posts that I should probably take a clean break or at the very least some serious distance between Jean and myself. So that's what I've been doing. Until last night. Went to a party in Brooklyn last night for a friend's birthday and took an Uber back home to Lower Manhattan. Around midnight my front desk calls asking if they should let a Jean up. I'm confused and say yes. She comes up and she's looking much happier and healthier than I've seen her in months. She hugs me and said she misses me and if we can just talk and hang out. Said she saw me in the party earlier that night on Instagram and our mutual friend that was there said I left early so she came over. I've been drinking so I guess it's less awkward so we just start talking like old times about what we've been up to the last week and everything crazy that's going on in the world over some beers. We're in my godforsaken tiny kitchen again and she kisses me. I don't stop her this time and she ended up spending the night. Waking up this morning, I didn't and still don't know what to think. Left while she was still sleeping to pick up some coffee. When I'm back I hear the shower so I sit on the bed and wait for her with the coffee. When she got out she realized I wanted to talk about last night so she asked if she could talk first. She said she knows I'm confused, knows how it feels like I'm her backup, knows how it feels like I'm the rebound. But none of that is true and she loves me and wants to do whatever necessary to prove it and make it work. I told her I'm feeling confused about the situation and don't feel the same type of love for her that she thinks she feels for me. She started crying and asking if she can do anything to prove it to me so I told her I think it's best if we take some time apart to do our own thing and let all these high emotions settle down. And if necessary we can pick up this discussion with a cooler heads and maybe even become friends again. She cried some more and agreed. Left a few hours ago and I'm still feeling kind of shell-shocked over the whole thing and have been just pacing around my app. I think I made the right decision about taking a clean break for now. Had some time and a lot has happened unfortunately so I figured I'd provide an update since you guys provided some good advice I didn't recognize as such last time. I went straight no contact after Jean went home after our night together. Only contact we had was via text when she asked 2 days later if she could come over so we can talk and I told her I didn't think that was a good idea and I thought it was best we spent time apart for the foreseeable future. Got a few more texts saying she understood, then how good we'd be together, and then finally how I'm making a mistake. I ignored all of it until it stopped a week into it. At this point I sadly accepted the reality that we probably could never be friends and was fine with it. We both move on and hopefully find happiness somewhere else. I mentioned before I'm the CFO for my company. For the last year we've been finalizing closing a deal with another major company and obviously because of all these global macro events it's made things a lot more complicated. I have incredibly strong feelings for the legal counsel, LC, for this company I've been working with. She's drop-dead gorgeous, smart as a whip, and an insanely tough and strong-willed woman. I tried once several months ago to ask her out but she saw my attempt from a mile away and rightfully let me know it was hugely inappropriate for us to start a relationship because of the deal we were working with. I agreed and although I've dated plenty the last year I've been pining after her this entire time. 2 weeks ago the deal was officially finalized. I'm not kidding when I say this, literally less than 60 seconds after the deal was announced I asked her out and thank goodness she accepted. The date was incredible. She told me how difficult it's been the last several months working so closely with me when we had such strong feelings for each other. Just like how so many of my friends know about her she's also told her friends about me. Spent the entire evening talking about how excited we finally are and then she came home with me. Now I have no idea how, but Jean found out. She messaged her 2 days later on LinkedIn asking to talk. Elsie thought Jean was an annoying recruiter or saleswoman at first and then Jean mentioned she knows about us seeing each other. Jean told Elsie that she and I were in a complicated and bumpy phase in our relationship. When Elsie didn't respond, Jean mentioned how I manipulate and use women, how I'm a serial dater and only chase women and if a girl has feelings I hurt them instead. Elsie was freaked out about this. The next day she asked me for coffee and showed me all of this. Said she likes me but she really doesn't want to get involved in any drama, maybe we shouldn't see each other. I had to beg her to give me a chance. I told her our entire history and thank God I actually wrote it down in the previous post so I showed those to her too. She agreed to give us a chance but I can see she's shaken up with all of this. I'm infuriated. I honestly don't know what to do. I've never been a vengeful and hurtful person but I'm really tempted to call Jean and say some incredibly hurtful things to her. Elsie and I have blocked her in all mediums of communication. I made my sister do the same who's also freaked out by how Jean is behaving. This is probably and hopefully the final update. I'm kind of upset that so many of you told me how manipulative and potentially dangerous Jean was and I completely ignored it. I've learned my lesson now though and will act accordingly if I have to interact with Jean again. I honestly think going through an abusive relationship taught her some incredibly toxic things. I'm angry with her but I know in my heart she wasn't always like this. I urge anyone if they're able to donate to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which Elsie and I did. 501c3 nonprofit organization and donations are tax deductible to the full extent of the law.
Am I the asshole for covering up cameras in the living room, bedroom, and bathroom in my husband's family's home? I recently got married, and we've recently moved into my husband's family's home. It's a big house on a farm in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful, but slightly creepy because of how old and run down and secluded it is. The people who live in this house are myself, female 24, my husband John, male 37, my brother-in-law, male 38, and his wife, female 25. My other brothers-in-law, male male 42 and male 26, and my father-in-law, male 60. I'm a stay-at-home wife, hopefully mother soon. We're trying. And my sister-in-law and I are responsible for the house while the guys work on the farm. It's a very traditional family, something I wasn't quite used to. Within a few days, I noticed that the house, including our bedroom, living room, and bathroom, had cameras installed. It made me extremely uncomfortable, and I confronted my husband about this. He told me it's for safety and not to worry about it. I questioned cameras in the bathroom, and he said those were just fakes and to drop the subject.
Uh-oh.
I did, because his tone told me he didn't want to discuss it any further, but the cameras kept bugging me, and after a few days, I covered them up. I felt weird being under constant camera presences. When my husband got home, he asked me to come to our bedroom, and he was furious. He started shouting at me that I had no right to change anything in his family's home. He said he already told me to ignore the cameras. I questioned the cameras again and explained how they made me feel, but he asked me if I didn't trust him. I said that I trusted him. He asked if I trusted his family. I said that I did. Then he said, "See, there's no problem then. Only family has access to these cameras." I tried telling him that it wasn't better, but he told me to not touch the cameras again and to stop being a problem. The next morning, no one would talk to me, including my sister-in-law. When we were alone, she told me to stop making a mess and that she can't talk to me as that's punishment for being disrespectful. She told me to stop being an asshole and listen to John and not get her involved in my marital problems. I don't think I was being an asshole. I only tried to express my feelings and that this made me feel uncomfortable. But everyone in the house thinks I'm in the wrong and I'm confused. Am I really the asshole for covering up the cameras?
Am I wrong for not allowing my ex to attend our child's birthday party? I, 34 female, and my ex-husband, 36 male, divorced 2 years ago due to irreconcilable differences. We share custody of our 7-year-old daughter, Lily, and have managed to maintain a relatively civil co-parenting relationship. However, things recently took a turn for the worse. Last week, Lily turned 8, and I decided to throw her a birthday party at our home. I planned the event meticulously, inviting Lily's friends, our family members, and a few close neighbors. I wanted it to be a special day for her. However, when I sent out the invitations to my ex-husband, I specifically mentioned that he would not be able to bring his girlfriend. Now, my reasoning behind this decision is that my ex-husband has been dating someone new for the past 6 months, and Lily hasn't had much interaction with her. I didn't think it was appropriate to have a stranger present at her birthday party, especially since my ex-husband and I agreed to introduce new partners to Lily gradually. My ex-husband, upon receiving the invitation, immediately called me, furious and demanding an explanation. He accused me of trying to exclude him from Lily's life and claimed that he had every right to be there for her special day. He argued that his girlfriend had already met Lily on a few occasions and saw no issue with her attending the party. Naturally, this turned into a heated argument with both of us standing our ground. I firmly stated that I didn't think it was fair to Lily to have a stranger present regardless of a few brief meetings. My ex-husband insisted that he had just as much right to be there as I did and accused me of being spiteful and controlling. The argument escalated and we ended up involving our respective families, who took sides and added fuel to the fire. Some of my family members supported my decision, claiming that Lily's birthday should be about her and her closest loved ones. However, my ex-husband's family argued that he should be allowed to attend and that his girlfriend was an important part of his life. Therefore, she should be included. We couldn't reach a compromise, and in the end, my ex-husband threatened legal action if I didn't allow him to attend the party. This left me feeling torn between wanting to make Lily happy and not wanting to escalate the situation further. So, am I the asshole for excluding my ex-husband from our daughter's birthday party? Small edit. To answer a few questions, Lily has no opinion. Her only concern is having all of her friends there and making sure the flavor of her cake is up to her standards. As her father and I have 50-50 custody, and the birthday party is during my time, I feel like I have a large say in this. Additionally, she has met the girlfriend twice. They haven't exchanged more than a few hellos, and she would not be comfortable alone with her. Therefore, I do not feel that it's appropriate to invite her. My ex-husband is free to come, his girlfriend is not.
Galaxy is on the brink of war between two major factions. In order to prevent it, the two sides secretly chose modern-day Earth to become a scapegoat as an imminent threat to the galaxy. However, they underestimated Earth, which is now a rising third power in the galaxy. Power and resources, that's what the purpose of every war was until now. The Xylon and Myrock coalitions were the strongest throughout the galaxy. They warred every few hundred years to re-establish the systems under their control. Perium mines in the Quar sector for shipbuilding, and the lush planets for harvesting food were always the primary targets. Tensions were growing, as the Xylons needed metal for their shipyards, and the Myrock were unable to feed their ever-growing population. Unfortunately, the forces across galaxy grew tired of their constant wars and conquering of inhabited planets. The leaders of the two factions met, agreeing that a war would open both sides for attack from other coalitions, and perhaps even the Federation or Union. So they assigned their tacticians to come up with a suitable solution. It took nearly half a standard Solarian circumvention for the tacticians to announce they had a solution. The factions met in secret once more on a decommissioned refining facility on Orion 12. "We have a solution," the Xylonian spoke with a smile. "We have found a medium-sized planet. They recently underwent a massive populace growth. Both the Federation and Union listed them as inhospitable, even ordering a no-contact status, and they've just reached the capability to travel beyond their solar system." A Myrock stepped up, changing the view on the screen behind him. "We propose a plan to conduct several atrocities across 3 sectors. We will also leave behind technology and deceased inhabitants of the planet, which will lead them to this planet. As they focus on fighting the planet, we can take as many others as we want without the corresponding fleet being able to return in time to save them." The leaders pondered for several ticks before reaching an agreement and giving the tacticians control of a fleet and ordering them to do whatever was necessary. The fleet sent stealth ships to the planet to research the inhabitants and their technologies. The planet was named by the Union as Terra 119. The Federation listed it as Aquan 17, but the inhabitants called it Earth and themselves humans. They were a planet of ambitious creatures with a desire to traverse the stars. With only a few insertions of information and a few accidental miscalculations by their scientists, the humans achieved a more advanced form of space travel and the ability to create low-yield plasma and energy weapons. The Myrock built replicas of the human ships, weapons, and armor suits. The Xylon sent another stealth craft, abducting nearly 100 humans from various places around the globe, but ensured each was a suitable age for combat. They interviewed each of the humans, and most seemed to plead for their safe return home in promise of riches. Some shouted words labeled as curses, mean to inflict emotional distress, and the others were a truly odd bunch who only repeated a single statement. As we entered the interrogation chamber, Commander Sarch, his first time interacting directly with humans, removed the mouth binding of the human who was now strapped to the metal table. "Are you ready to speak now, or shall we just kill you?" The commander spoke with intensity. "Sergeant Anderson, 5674566721, August 7th, 2108 inches, the human replied. "No matter what we ask, sir, there are roughly a dozen who respond in a similar manner. What should we do?" the tactician asked, making sure not to look directly at his superior. "Interesting. Keep all who follow this format. Once we break their wills, I believe they will have great things to share with us." The commander spoke as he left the chamber, and I sedated the human once more. I studied the humans brought back. They are very weak creatures, requiring devices to sustain almost every base function of life in space and on most planet surfaces. Luckily, the reconnaissance teams brought back samples of their equipment and devices. Each human was fitted with copies of the appropriate gear and had their tanks filled with just enough of their chemically balanced air for them to survive a short period on the surface of each planet. In less than a cycle, over a dozen planets had been destroyed with humans left to die on their surfaces. A few systems even had recreations of the Earth starfighters crashed nearby. It did not take long for several coalitions, including the Union, to declare war on the human planet. The plan was to give it time for each force to deplete their limited resources so the two factions could declare war for what they needed. To every faction's surprise, the humans were repelling attacks better than anticipated. Trapped in the proverbial corner that was their single inhabited world, the humans progressed the gifted technology in new ways faster than we imagined, destroying entire fleets without even sending a ship into orbit. The coalitions agreed to stay at the edge of the solar system and to only prevent the humans from ever leaving their area. The blockade was in place for nearly 2 standard Solarian cycles, and neither side of the original factions dared to declare war as every system began growing their armadas. Most of the known universe forgot about the humans and their Earth, believing they accepted being restrained to their original solar system. I had honestly forgotten myself as I sat in my office with a few of my colleagues. Suddenly, the view screen came alive on a universal emergency broadcast. In view was Admiral Larlin, the captain of the Union's flagship and pride of their armada. His face was distorted, the blue liquid sustaining his life pouring from every orifice. He attempted to speak but was unsuccessful as he fell from view. Behind him was a human in a white uniform splattered in all types of flesh and fluid of known races in the blockade. His message was simple, but it struck fear in the heart of all who heard. We do not know why you attacked us a few years ago, and it doesn't matter anymore. Your blockade has been destroyed. In the attack, only one of our ships was destroyed and 3 more sustained damages. I have been ordered to accept no prisoners or surrender until we inflict casualties 10-fold of what we suffered during your initial attacks. If you have gods, now is the time to pray to them. The universe looked on in horror as the human left the broadcast running. The bodies of the Union crew were strewn about the bridge. You couldn't even see the floor or a console. Probably most concerning, the human was only followed by 4 soldiers in armor much different, much stronger than what we planted on those planets all those years ago. 2 factions wanted a war for resources. Now the universe is at war for survival.